Understanding the social impacts of tourism is vital to ensuring the sustainable management of the tourism industry. There are positive social impacts of tourism, demonstrating benefits to both local community and the tourist. There are also negative social impacts of tourism. To put it simply, social impacts of tourism are the effect on host community of direct and indirect relations with tourists and of interaction with the tourism industry. This is also often referred to as socio-cultural impacts. Tourism is, at its core, an interactive service. This means that host guest interact is inevitable. This can have significant social or socio-cultural impacts. A social impacts is the effect of an activity on a community, it's either individual and families. Social impact creates opportunity that are otherwise unavailable to the minorities or underprivileged. This group can get access to quality education, clean water, gender equality, or able to obtain decent work and those gain economic growth. Positive social impacts of tourism. There are many social benefits of tourism demonstrating positive social impacts. This might include preserving the local culture and heritage, strengthening communities, provision of social services, commercialization of culture and arts, revitalization of customs and arts form, and the preservation of heritage. This might include preserving the local culture and heritage, strengthening communities, provision of social services, commercialization of culture and arts, revitalization of customs and arts form, and the preservation of heritage. Positive social impact in tourism include learning about different cultures, increasing tolerance and inclusion through LGBTQ plus travel, increasing amenities. For example, parks, recreation facilities, investment in arts, and culture celebration of indigenous people. Preserving local culture. It is the local culture that the tourists are often coming to visit. Many destinations will make a concerted effort to preserve and protect the local culture. This often contributes to the conservation and sustainable management of the natural resources, the protection of local heritage, and the renaissance of indigenous cultures, cultural arts, and craft. Preserving local culture, maintaining ancient culture, whether it's a large nation. Cultural preservation includes documenting and studying languages, preserving and restoring historic relics significant to a culture or heritage, and encouraging the preservation and use of indigenous or tribal language or rituals.
Strengthening communities. Tourists can be catalyzed for strengthening a local community, event, and festival of which local residents have a been promising. Participants and structures are often rejuvenated and development in response to tourists. And the job created by tourists can also be a great boost for the local community. Aside from the economic impact created by the enhanced employment prospect, people with job are happier and more special increase earning prospect through tourist related personal and development of business and organizational skills. Having a sense of community units as being a part of community can make us feel as true we are a part of something greater than ourselves. It can give us opportunities to connect with people to reach for our goals and makes us feel safe and secure, and it's important very person to have a sense of communities. Provision of social services. The tourist industry requires many facilities within instructors to meet the need of the tourists. This often means that many development in area result of tourism will be enabled for use by the local. Also, local people often gain new playground, bus service, etc. As result of tourism. This can be provide a great boost there to their quality of life and as a great example of a positive social impact of tourism. Government is a link to the belief of universal human rights, democratic principle as well uh, religious and cultural values. The main groups with a social service is towards the sick and the stable. Commercialization of culture and art. Tourism can see rise to many commercial business, which can be a positive social impact of tourism. This helps to enhance the community spirit as people have more disposable income. As a result, this business may also promote the local cultures, arts. Museum, show, and galleries are fantastic way to showcase the local costumes and traditions of a destination. This can help to promote with preserve a local tradition. This is a process of a product of mitigating to the people and markets. It's basically updating them to giving them information through all types of media of incoming a new product.
Revitalization of culture and art. Some destinations will encourage local cultures and arts to be revitalized. This may be in the form of museum exhibitions, in the way that restaurants and shops are decorated, in the entertainment and offer, for example. Cultural significance of weaving. Preservation of weaving knowledge, support of traditional weaving arts. Next, preservation of heritage. Many tourists will visit the destination especially to see its local heritage. It is for this reason that many destinations will make every effort to preserve its heritage. This could include putting restriction in place or limiting tourist numbers if necessary. This is often an example of careful tourism planning and sustainable tourism management. Negative social impacts of tourism. Fortunately, there are a large number of socio-cultural costs on the host communities. This negative social impact include social change, changing values, increased crime and gambling, change in moral behavior, change in family structure and roles, problem with the tourist-host relationship and the destruction of heritage. Social change. Social change is basically referring to change in the way that society acts or behaves. Unfortunately, there are many changes that come about a result of tourism that are not desirable. Globalization and the destruction of preservation and heritage. Globalization is the way in which the world is becoming increasingly connected. We are losing our individuality and gaining a sense of global being, whereby we are more and more alike than ever before. Loss of authenticity. Authenticity is essentially something that is original or unchanged. It is not fake or reproduced in any way. Standardization and commercialization. Similarity Similarly, destination risk standardization in the process of satisfaction tourists' desires for familiar facilities and experience.
Culture clashes. On a less philosophical note, another negative social impact of tourism that can have significant consequences is cultural clashes. Because tourism involves movement of people different geographic locations, cultural clashes can take place as a result of difference in cultures, ethnic and religious group, values, lifestyles and languages, and level of prosperity. Tourist host relationship culture clashes can be also be exacerbated by the fundamental difference in culture between the host and the tourist. There is likely to be economic inequality between local and tourists who are spending more than they usually do at home. This can cause resentment from the host, particularly when they see them wearing expensive jewelry or using plush cameras and more that they know that can't afford themselves. Increase in crime, gambling, and moral behavior. Crime rates typically increase with the growth and urbanization of an area, and the growth of mass tourism is often accompanied by increased crime. The presence of a large number of tourists with a lot of money to spend and often carrying valuables, such as cameras and jewelry, increases the attraction for criminals and brings with it activities like robbery and drug dealing. Therefore, tourism can contribute to resist in the number of sex workers in a given area. I have seen this myself in many places, including the Gambia and Thailand. Lastly, gambling is a common occurrence as a result of tourism. Growth of casinos and other gambling facilities can encourage not only the tourists to the part of their cash but also the local population. Social impact of tourism and hospitality. It refers to the changes in the quality of life of residents of tourist destinations. Host visitor interactions refer to interaction between peoples, particularly between the tourist or visitors and the local residents or host. The personal encounter that takes place between tourist and host and specific place. Classification of tourist. Explorer. Interested in being active participants observing among the population. This is a person who explores an unfamiliar area, an adventurer. Elite can afford to pay well for unusual vacation. You can refer to the most powerful, rich, or talented people within a particular group, place, or society. Unusual tourists love sub-exotic cultural sites and unusual or primitive sites. For example, we are a Sorala-based travel company which operates predominantly in Lake Cebu. Insufficient mass tourist, a mixture of both pleasure seeker and business traveler. These are the individual from a small organized group and make tour using some share services. Mass tourist comes from the middle class and arrives in the destination with other tourists. They are the large numbers of people visit the same place at any chartered tourist comes in mass with other of his kind creating an extremely high amount of business and receiving a high degree of standardization in services and products. Any travel services in which a travel agency contracts with an air carrier and offer for sale a charter, for example, Philippine Airlines.
Positive social effect of tourism and hospitality. Social change is a multicultural important benefit of tourism. And hospitality is a bringing together of deserved people to help them understanding one another. As as our security becomes more culturally deserved, organization are understanding the needs to work with another organization. It other turn up the sound so their voice is heard and their issue will be addressed. Adaptation to the realities of modern life and improvement of the host country lifestyle. Adapting to a new culture can be difficult, especially when you're moving to another place. Most people we live in a foreign country for sometimes go through an adjustment period during which culture shocks and experience. Use foreign language. It brings people in contact with those of other language groups. There is a for example of this. This is an foreign language provide a competitive age and career. Choose one is able to communicate in the second language. Foreign language study enhance listening skill and memory. Improve health conditions and discuss control. In the past 50 years, the world has experienced enormous unprecedented gain in the health of humans. Population progress has been especially negative social effect of tourism and hospitality. Social saturation. The presence of large number of tourists result to congestion of facilities and service and competition for limited resources. The continual exposure to multiple services other we are a new contact with many different kinds of PPL. The process through which the happen is a matter of populating the self with different experience. Change in the social structure, behavior, and rules. It changed the traditional forms of employment which result a lowering for the status of agricultural workers migration of population, and the breaking up of families. We have four types of rule. Rule number one, expectation. A group of societies. Definition of the way a specific rule through to be applied. Rule number two, conflict. Occurs when incompatible rule demand are placed on the person by two or more status held at the same time. Rule number three, strain. Occur when comfortable demand are built into a single status that a person competes women in the job market person occupies women in the job market due to lower pay, less prestige, more rules blocks. Rule number four, except occur when people dissent them from social rules that have been central to their self-identity. Community problem. Rise of prostitution due to mass tourism.
Negative demonstrative effects. It consists of tourist behaviors which can be considered socially and economically inappropriate. One of the major results of it is the polarization of the host from the tourists which happen in different watches as. Tourists often demand commodities and facilities beyond the economic capacity of local residents. The social norms of the tourists that are very different from the local custom give rise to social problems important of foreign workers from more developed countries. Impact control measures. Number one, reducing the contact between hosts and guests by limiting carrying capacity of the destination and by regulating the tourist flow. Number two, separating the hosts and the tourists within the tourist enclaves. Number three, designing community education and citizen involvement programs. Number four, expanding human resource development and training programs in all components of tourist and hospitality system.